Fox Sports presents the National Football League. This afternoon from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California, it's the Atlanta Falcons and the Los Angeles Rams. 78 degrees and sunny here in Anaheim for this NFC Western Division battle between the 2-2 Rams and the 2-2 Falcons. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kenny Albert along with Ron Pitts. It's week 5 of the National Football League season, yet the Rams and the Falcons have already met 3 weeks ago at the Georgia Dome, a 31-13 Atlanta victory as Jeff George threw 3 touchdown passes.
Well, you know, Jeff George has really caught on well to this run and shoot offense. The most impressive thing about him is his accuracy. Right now, he's #1 in the NFL in completion percentage at 70%. But let's talk a little bit about the guys he's got to throw to. Rison, we know him. He's the big play man. But let's talk about Terrence Mathis. He's really gotten a lot since most of the time they double on Andre Rison. Both these guys, Kenny, they do a lot. They catch a lot of balls. They're #1 and 2 in the NFL in receptions.
Terrence Mathis with 36, Andre Rison 33, and trying to stop the Atlanta offense today will be a Los Angeles Rams defensive unit, which last week became the first group to ever shut out Joe Montana in the NFL.
Well, you know about Gilbert, you know about Jones, but Robert Young is a guy that's really gotten a lot of pressure around the outside. He has 4 sacks. That pressure has given the Rams something they haven't had before, turnovers. They got 3 turnovers last week against Kansas City. Another guy to look for in the defense, Marquez Pope, 22, the strong safety. He's got some big hits, and those big hits are firing up the defense and firing up the Los Angeles Ram team.
The Atlanta Falcons have won the toss. They will receive Clarence Verdun, signed this week. Led the NFL in kick returns and yards last year. Verdun back to receive along with Eric Pegram. Tony Zendejas will kick it off for the Rams, who defeated the Kansas City Chiefs last week 16-0, while the Falcons defeated the Washington Redskins. Clarence Verdun from the 2. Flag on the play, 23-yard return by Clarence Verdun. Our referee this afternoon is Red Cashin. Holding call on the Falcons. So Atlanta will start out deep in their own territory.
During the return, holding number 50 of the receivers, half the distance to the goal, still first down.
The Falcons will start out from their own 9-yard line in a 4-wide receiver offense. Andre Rison, top of the screen. 33 receptions the first 4 games. They keep it on the ground. Eric Pegram gains about 5. Joe Kelly in on the stop. Jeff George in his first season in Atlanta, 9 touchdown passes the first 4 games and a 70% completion ratio. Mike Ken, Dave Richards, Roman Fortin, Mike Zandowski, and Bob Whitfield, the men protecting Jeff George. Pegram, the lone running back. Emmanuel, Sanders, Mathis, and Rison, the wide receiver.
You know about the pass, but you know what? They got a tight end in the game. This is very uncharacteristic of the Falcons. Look for some run and look for Pegram.
The tight end is number 86, Mitch Lyons. 2nd down and 5. George, quick release, and he finds Lyons, the tight end. His first reception of the season, and an Atlanta Falcons first down. The Rams defense, which shut out the Kansas City Chiefs 1 week ago. Stokes, Gilbert, Jones, and Young, the front 4. The 2 Rams linebackers, Roman Pfeiffer and Joe Kelly. LA going with 5 defensive backs: Henley, Newman, Bailey, Pope, and Light.
Right off the bat, June Jones has thrown them a curve. They got 5 DBs in the game, but they still got a tight end on the field. They're going to have to hunker down, maybe get another linebacker in there and get ready for the run game.
First down and 10 from the 24. George to the air on first down, And the pass intended for Andre Rison. Coverage on the play by number 41, Todd Light.
Yeah, that time the matchup, if you look most of the time, they're going to send Rison away from everybody else and try to get a one-on-one coverage situation. That time Light stepping in, going step for step, man-to-man on Rison. Light's got the speed to cover him, but when it comes down to a situation, as we look at June Jones there, where they need a shorter third down distance completion situation, look for Rison to start cutting across the middle of the field, even though he said before the game, pointed at Anthony Newman, that I do not come across the middle. I think they might have to later on.
Much controversy back in week 2 involving Rison and Newman, which we will get to a little bit later on. On second down, George is taken down. Number 76, Robert Young, sack number 5 in 5 games.
We're going to take a look from the end zone here, and the problem is the Rams are playing basically zone around the whole ball. George sees this. He's got to step up and do something with the football. Now, there's really no place to go. The ideal situation for June Jones is to get a man-to-man situation and have Rison locked up on somebody, and then he can beat him. If we look at Young there, we talked about his sacks in the beginning of the game. He's really helped out a lot, giving the Rams that corner rusher, that hard corner rusher.
Third down and 10, George from the shotgun. George still looking downfield. It is complete up at the 39-yard line.
We've got a flag down too, Kenny.
Red Cashin signals a completion.
Contact, number 28 on the defense while the quarterback was still in the pocket. That penalty is declined. First down.
You notice he said as the quarterback is still in the pocket. The quarterback breaks the pocket. They're not going to call that contact. This is the play here on the other side. That's the ball. They call that an inbounds catch, and actually it is. You can see he drags the left foot. Of course, when you throw that pass on the opposing sideline, Kenny, you're going to get a lot of beef. But that was a good catch.
Bert Emanuel with his first reception on first down. Eric Pegram struggles to gain 2. Jimmy Jones on the stop. Eric Pegram a year ago, the 4th leading rusher in the National Football League. It will be a second down and 7 for the Atlanta Falcons. We welcome those of you who have watched the Dallas Cowboys 34-7 victory over the Washington Redskins at RFK Stadium. Kenny Albert along with Ron Pitts from the Big A in Anaheim. Opening possession of the game. George slings it to the left side. Andre Rison at the 44, gain of only 1. And it will be a third down and 6 for the Atlanta Falcons.
George handling the high snap that time from Roman Fortin. See, in the shotgun, you know, they practice that so much. He's used to getting that snap down by the belt buckle. And that really now he's got to take his eyes off the downfield receiver, catch the football, and now try to find everybody, make a throw, and it's hard.
The Falcons 46% on third downs this year. George's pass is complete across midfield. Number 81, Terrence Mathis, who came in leading the National Football League with 36 receptions. That is already a career high run after only 4 games.
You know, and in college, I mean, this is a guy that really did a lot too. You know, out of New Mexico, he comes into this game leading receptions for the Falcons and 1 and 2 along with Rison in the NFL. But like we said, they got so much double coverage going on Rison. George said last night, this is the kind of guy he wants to look for and try to get the ball to. Last week against Washington, they really tried to get the ball to him a lot.
Jeff George, 4 or 5 on this opening drive. George looks to go to the wall once again, and it was sacked this time by number 56, Shane Conlon. The
Rams weren't planning to start Shane Conlon because of the 4 wide out situation, But Conlon is going to come from the right of the screen on what's called a delayed blitz. He's going to check and see if anybody's out. Pegram blocks him. Now he goes. And that's the one guy they can't account for. George doesn't see him until late. He does a good job of pulling down the ball, taking the sack.
Shane Conlon, the three-time Pro Bowler with the Buffalo Bills, loss of 11. Second down and 21. Mathis in motion. Draw play, here's Pegram. Gained 6 yards back. The hit made by Conlon once again.
One thing you're going to notice from this run and shoot offense is that because now they've gone back to the 4 wide out situation, the offensive lineman splits are very wide. Therefore, the running game is really an advantage to Atlanta because it's hard for the defense to plug up those holes or those gaps, they call them. So that's why Pegram has really been successful in this offense because there's nobody there to plug up the holes. Gene Jones, he said that's the one thing they really want to do. Everybody talks about the pass, but you know what? We want to run the ball just as much.
This the 11th play of the drive. Third down and 14, motion and flags everywhere. It is on the Falcons.
Going back to June, you know, he was up in Detroit.
False start. Number 1 on the offense. 5 yards, still third down.
He and Miles Davis from 89 and 90, and you know they had a pretty good back up there named Barry Sanders. But that is the kind of thing that they want to do. They want to be able to spread you out and run the football.
Mike Ken, the Falcons starting left tackle, telling us last night that the offensive lineman must be a better athlete to play in the run and shoot than in almost any other situation because the offense is spread out so much. On 3rd and 19, Georgia's pass is complete. Terrence Mathis about 2 yards shy of the first down. And trotting onto the field, the Atlanta Falcons punter, Harold Alexander.
One thing you're going to see from Alexander is a guy that punts very quick. He's called a two-stepper, a quick two-stepper. And Kenny, he's never had a punt block, and I can see why.
Johnny Bailey is back. Alexander angles this one. Out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. 36-yard punt by Harold Alexander. So the LA Rams will take over deep in their own territory. There is Chris Chandler in his 7th season out of the University of Washington. Did not throw any interceptions last week against the Chiefs. Clarence Jones, Tom Newberry, Vern Brostek, Leo Goez, and 40-year-old Jackie Slater. Jerome Bettis, Tim Lester in the backfield. Flipper Anderson, Jesse Hester, the wide receivers. The tight end, Troy Drayton.
Look for the Rams to try to sting Atlanta early with a pass. They want to open up that run for Bettis later on.
The Rams go to who else? Punt Jerome Bettis on first down. He gains 2 yards. Lester Archambault in on the stop. Archambault, along with Pierce Holt, Mo Gardner, and Mel Agee starting in place of Chris Dolman, who will come in on third downs. Clay Matthews, the longtime Cleveland Brown, Jesse the Hammer Tuggle. And the 5 defensive backs, DJ Johnson, the ex-Steeler, Harper, former Chief Kevin Ross, Vinnie Clark, and the Falcon linebacker, they call him the Falcon linebacker, is number 50, Ron George. Second down and 7. Jerome Bettis, change of direction, across the 15, taken down at the 18-yard line. Gain of 10 yards. Jerome Bettis, 3 consecutive 100-yard games, and he is off to a good start so far with 2 carries for 12 yards.
You know, Chick Harris, offensive coordinator for the Rams, he was worried about the fact that Atlanta, they play what's called a 4-2, and they'll bring down a defensive back and make it an 8-man front. That's 4 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers. But now they're in a pure 43 situation. So this is really better for Jerome Bettis running the football.
Here's Bettis once again on first down. Picks up 5 more. Jesse Tuggle, who led the NFL in tackles each of the last 2 years, in on the stop. At one point last week, in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs run, Bettis handled the ball on 16 consecutive plays, 14 run plays and 2 passes. And so far here today, 3 plays. Jerome Bettis, 3 carries.
And Jerome, he makes it known that he wants to go for his 2,000-yard season.
Second down, 5 to go. Troy Drayton, the tight end, in motion. Play action pass is complete. Flipper Anderson, who scored the lone touchdown last week on a 72-yard connection from Chandler. And for Flipper Anderson, his first reception today.
When Ron George goes out now, they're basically in their base defense. They don't have a 5 defensive back alignment. So the Rams immediately see it. And what do? They attack the underneath zones area where that linebacker or safety combination man wouldn't be. They call Ron George the Falcon. He just represents a combination linebacker strong safety.
First down on the 34. Chandler to the air once more. It is complete. Jesse Hester out of bounds at the 44 after a gain of 10.
One of the biggest beefs against the Falcons defense is that the secondary plays off. They're not real aggressive and they play a lot of zone coverage. You can see here, if we can hold it for a second here, look how far off. I mean, this is not what you want to play in a man-to-man situation. And you can see you can't give a guy like Hester that much room. He takes advantage of it, and they're going to throw that all day long, Kenny, if they can.
Another Rams first down. LA moving the ball well now on the 44-yard line. Chandler being pressured, and he threw it away. Kevin Ross, the free safety, putting all kinds of pressure on Chris Chandler.
Wow, did you see that? Boy, Chandler went after Todd Kinchin, and that didn't look nice.
Todd Kinchin, as a wide receiver, they definitely had words after the play.
Chandler gets under some pressure right away, but, you know, Bruce goes down the field. Isaac Bruce and makes a great job, doing a great job of getting open. He didn't see him, but apparently there was a mix-up with what Todd Kinchin did underneath.
And then Kinchin immediately headed for the sidelines. Bettis.
Let's go back to that play before with Kinchin and Chandler. We saw the problem there. Apparently, Kinchin ran a wrong route, or not the route that Chandler wanted him to run. Well, we'll just call it a love tap. I think it was a little bit more than that.
Todd Kinchin then ran a route straight to the sidelines.
Let's see if he ever gets back out in the field.
Todd Kinchin was actually released a couple of weeks ago and then re-signed by the Rams. Third down and 10. Call it 3rd and 11. Chandler jumps it off. Johnny Bailey out of the backfield. Hit by Tuggle, and that's, you know, they call this guy the Hammer. Did you see that hit by Tuggle on
Well,
Johnny Bailey?
He only bench presses 500 pounds. He talks about at night how he likes to lift downstairs in his house and lift late at night when he doesn't have anything else to do. But, I mean, he puts a hit on you big time.
Punter Sean Landetta, who last week punted with these practice shoes, 14 years old. He bought these things in 1980 for $9. He forgot his game shoes, but Sean said despite the 52.5-yard average last week, he is not superstitious. Went back to his actual game shoes, and it certainly did not bother Landetta there with a 44-yard punt, forcing the Falcons inside the 10. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts back in Anaheim. Ron, that is Roman Pfeiffer, who led the Rams in tackles last year. He is wearing a splint on a hyperextended elbow, and he has not yet played this afternoon. Shane Conlon, who recorded a sack earlier, in at linebacker along with Joe Kelly. But we have not yet seen Roman Pfeiffer, one of the leaders of the Rams defense. 1st and 10 for the Falcons from their own 9, and George on 1st down. Pass intended for Andre Rison. Getting back to that earlier game between the Falcons and the Rams, Andre Rison, Ron, guaranteed a victory, and it was involved in a war of words with Anthony Newman of the Rams. This week, Rison called Newman a wannabe, and then Newman challenged Rison to come over the middle. Rison said he's been in the league long enough to know that that's not my style. I just go into the end zone. I don't go over the middle.
Yeah, I think what happened in the Kansas City game got Anthony Newman fired up to begin with when the Chiefs went for it on 2 occasions on 4th and long. So, you know, he's waiting for a guy like Rison to come back into town.
On 2nd down, Eric Pegram to the outside. Hit by Darrell Henley after a gain of just 2.
Kenny, we just been told that the Falcons' helmet coach-to-quarterback communication device is down. That's not working. So now they got to do what's called wig-wag the plays in. They'll shuttle them in. That takes time. It's not as effective. And June Jones said last night he is a guy who's going to run that communication device. He will be the one talking to the quarterback. So that's out. Now you got to think about, well, have they been practicing the hand signals and shuttling in practice? Because if they haven't, it's going to affect them right now.
June Jones, a guy who likes to get very involved with the quarterback during the game. Jones himself, a former QB. George throws it away. He was pressured at the goal line. Jimmy Jones. And George was forced to throw the ball away. And the Falcons will punt once again. So the Rams defense getting the job done here in this 1st quarter.
Jimmy Jones, he's going to line up right here. Watch how quick he is off the ball, and watch what he does with his hands. He splits the 2 offensive linemen right now, and he's in there for the play. That is what they wanted. Chuck Knox talked about, we got some outside people. We got Robert Young, we got Stokes. We need somebody to take the heat off of Sean Gilbert, and that's the man that's doing it.
Harold Alexander from the end zone, played by Johnny Bailey at the 48. And the Rams will start out in terrific field position from the 38-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons. Next week, Fox NFL Sunday begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with the best 1-hour pregame show on television. Then at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, some of you will see the 49ers battle the Lions, or at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific, the action continues when the Arizona Cardinals take on the Dallas Cowboys. Check local listings for the game and time in your area right here on Fox Sports. On 1st down, Chandler's pass is batted to the ground by Kevin Ross, pressuring Chandler once again.
Yeah, Kevin Ross that time coming on the safety blitz. That's something they're switching up a little bit. They haven't shown a whole lot of that. Usually Ross is a guy back deep. He's the quarterback of the defensive backfield that time, but they're just giving Chandler a few different looks. They know he's fresh in there. He doesn't have a lot of reps, and they're just going to try to confuse him right off the bat.
Kevin Ross, who spent 10 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs. 2nd down and 10. The pitch back, Jerome Bettis. Bettis across the 35 to the 33. A gain of 5 yards. Ken Tippins, number 52, and on the stop.
I want you to take a look at the speed of the Atlanta Falcon defense. Now watch, they're going to go toss to their left side, but watch how many guys get off blocks, and watch how many guys end up around Jerome Bettis when the ball is, when the tackle's made. If we can stop it right here, look at all those black shirts on the football. Where is Jerome Bettis? Jerome Bettis' skill and his forte is in the middle and then outside, but I don't think you're going to have success running outside on this Atlanta Falcon defense. They're too fast.
Chandler out of the shotgun on 3rd and 5. Well, the play clock, Ron, all the way down to 0. So a delay of game penalty called on the Rams, which forces them back 5 yards. And those are a key 5 yards because the Rams were in field goal territory. Now the ball pushed back to the 38.
Well, one thing that helped them last week against the Chiefs is that in order to neutralize the rush of Thomas and Neil Smith, they went on a quick count, and they went on a quick tempo. Now they're back into the old style, and I'm not so sure that the Rams don't work better with a quick tempo.
3rd down and 10. Flags on the play once again. Chandler going deep, and it is almost intercepted by Vinnie Clark. There was movement before the snap.
They got Jumpy Gathers in there jumping.
Well, that's what he's supposed to do, right?
Jumpy was out all preseason long with a hernia.
Both sides. Number 97 on the defense. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
He was out all during the preseason. He had a hernia operation. And here's a guy that's really got a lot of skill, but you know, you can't listen to the count. And I got to wonder, Kenny, how is it that the guys closest to the ball always end up jumping off sides? Like Doman said to us last night, it's hard not to listen to the count and get a good jump.
If your name was Jumpy, wouldn't you jump? Now back to the 33-yard line after one penalty on each side. And Chandler is taken down back at the 43. Jumpy Gathers making up for the penalty just one play before. Jumpy Gathers with his first sack of the season.
You know, there's a lot to be said. You got Doman coming out here, 56. He's a problem. Smith on the other side. But don't forget about the middle, and that's why you got to have an inside push. The quarterback wants to step up in that pocket and throw, but you got heat coming from the inside. There's no place to go, and let's give some credit to the Falcon defensive backfield, too.
Sean Landeta punting for the 2nd time today. Clarence Verdun calls for the fair catch at the 14 after a 26-yard punt by Sean Landeta. Falcons will take over when we return to the Big A. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts here on Fox from Anaheim Stadium. 1st and 10 for the Atlanta Falcons. From the 14, Eric Pegram, nice stutter step. Gains about 9 yards. Anthony Newman in on the stop. Ron, speaking of baseball, well, we'll get back to that in a moment.
What you're going to see here is this is called a cutback play. They're going to take off and get the motion going this way. Pegram's going to try to cut it back. The main deal is to get a block on that backside cutback. And this is why Pegram is so dangerous. You already got big splits up there. And don't forget, we can freeze it here. Look at the lane he's got. That's what the cutback play is all about.
On 2nd and 1, Pegram stopped behind the line. Fred Stokes, a native of Georgia. Many friends and family watching back home. Fred Stokes hitting Eric Pegram for the loss. And that does it for the first quarter. We are scoreless from Anaheim. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts back in Anaheim. Ron, we have spoken of the run and shoot offense used by the Atlanta Falcons. Well, the man who literally wrote the book on the run and shoot offense back in 1965, Glenn Tiger Ellison, an assistant coach at Ohio State, as well as a high school coach in the state of Ohio.
You know, here's Miles Davis right here. He gets most of the credit for the run and shoot and the development of it, but that man right there, Ellison, is really the guy who started it. He is the originator of it. And in that book, it illustrates a lot of the plays that they use right here.
Movement on the line once again on 3rd down and 1. When we met with Atlanta Falcons head coach June Jones last night, you said to June, who is the father of the run and shoot offense, and he said,
false start. Left guard on the offense. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Is that what he said?
He did not say false start.
There's a false start on the play. The left guard, or actually the left tackle, moves. He's just out of the frame here. He raises up just a little bit, the guard right there. He moves just a little bit, and that's enough to pull Stokes off, but they're going to call it.
And that's Dave Richards out of UCLA playing near his alma mater here in Anaheim. June Jones did not say false start. He said Tiger Ellison.
Exactly. I was kind of surprised, too. I thought he'd say, well, you know, it came from some guy a long time ago.
Well, it did, right? On 3rd and 6, Ricky Sanders near a first down. We'll have to wait and see where the ball is spotted.
We have seen very few four wide out formations so far. And like we talked about earlier, I think they're just trying to throw the Rams a curve, knowing that from last game, as we look at June Jones here, knowing that they prepared mainly for a four wide out situation. They got four wide outs in right now.
George on first down, it's complete. Bert Emanuel, the rookie out of Rice, who was actually a quarterback in college. At the Senior Bowl, he moved to wide receiver, impressed scouts with his speed and good hands.
You got to respect Emanuel, and the reason why is he runs a 4.2 840. So I would give him the cushion here too. Henley stepping back in. They finally got a guy in Henley who can go man-to-man on a consistent basis. And I think that's one thing, you know, in spite of the troubles he's had off the field, that's one thing the Rams wanted to do, is get him back in here so they can expand their defensive play.
Third down and 1. Eric Pegram has the first down.
Pegram again on that cutback play we talked about earlier. And he's the kind of back that accelerates real quick through the hole. And he gets through it, and he's up in the field. Watch, once again, we're going to slow it here. Everything's going this way. He's going to come here and cut it back. They're going to take care of this and this over here. But they're going to get a hand on him, but just watch the way he runs with power and his strength. Shane Conlon there, 56, he over-pursues. Everybody over-pursues. And Kelly, he just manages to get just enough on him to slow him down.
On first and 10, George in the air once again. Well overthrown. Andre Rison double teamed on the play. And we see Anthony Newman and some of the other Ram defenders having words now with Andre Rison.
In a way, it was good that that pass was high because Anthony was sitting right there. And let me tell you something, in this league, when you come inside, you better have your heart and your insurance policy together. Here are the hits. Hits pay dividends later on. Jeff George has been hit a lot in his career. That time Stokes doing the honors.
Second down and 10, Mathis in motion. Eric Pegram fumbles, and it's recovered by the Falcons. Dave Richards, who was called on the penalty just moments ago in his 7th season out of UCLA, very alertly recovers the Eric Pegram fumble.
Yeah, they just had a little tackle trap play that time, and as Pegram just got the football, somebody slapped down on it. But once again, that goes back to the inside penetration and the importance of it.
Third down and 12. Jeff George, 7 of 11 so far. George has some time. Robert Young forcing George out of bounds. It has been a very impressive first half so far for the Rams left defensive end, Robert Young.
One thing you're going to notice from the Rams secondary is that they're playing a 2-deep coverage situation with 2 safeties deep, and underneath they're going to play man-to-man. Well, the coverage is so good, and George doesn't have anything he can do but try to run and get some extra yardage. But that's what they were saying. That's what Joe Vitt and George Dyer, that's what they told me, the defensive coordinator for the Rams. They told me that they were going to play a lot of that this week and try to make George make some decisions and fit the ball in where he really can't fit it in, even though the guy does have a great arm and he's got a great release, which we'll talk about a little later on.
There were flags on that last play. The officials in a conference.
Holding number 24 on the defense. 5 yards. First down.
Yeah, that's Wyman Henderson. Wyman Henderson, he's number 24. He's going to do the hold. He's right there. He's going to get up the field. And believe me, Sanders got a lot of shake. Right there, you can see the jersey, the left shoulder pulled down. That's the hold, and that's a good call. But, man, it's hard not to hold a guy like Sanders because he is very quick off the line of scrimmage.
Ricky Sanders, the longtime Washington Redskin, who played for Gene Jones and Mouse Davis with the Houston Gamblers of the USFL, so he knows the system.
Yeah, and June Jones, he played for Mouse Davis at Portland State, if you could believe that one. A lot of playing and coaches and players doing some work down here.
First and 10 for the Falcons on their own 43-yard line. George with lots of time finally gets it away, and it is complete. Andre Rison, the first down, only his second reception today. A gain of 15 for Andre Rison, who, when asked about Jeff George, said, "I've never been around a guy with so much talent."
You know, you can't ask a defensive back to cover longer than this. I mean, the average time to cover is about 3.5 to 4 seconds. But as you can see, that if we can stop it right here, that's the route. Rison is done. Now everything else after this is an ad lib. He's just trying to get open. And Todd Light, I mean, you can't stay any closer to a guy like Andre Rison.
First and 10, Eric Pegram up to the 38-yard line, a gain of 4. Eric Pegram came in as the 5th leading receiver, or leading rusher, that is, in the NFC. Chuck Knox told us, Ron, that the Rams coaching staff voted for Eric Pegram in the Pro Bowl voting a year ago. Not many honors higher than that.
That's funny. Teams usually don't like to do that if they don't like a guy or if he talks a lot, but I don't think Pegram talks that much. He's pretty quiet, so they gave him the votes, but he is a good player and he deserves it.
10th play of the drive. Pegram stuffed at the line. The swarming Rams defense led by Shane Conlon, who was not scheduled to start. Conlon has been suffering from a thigh bruise, but Roman Pfeiffer, with the hyperextended elbow, forced to the sidelines. Conlon, with the sack earlier, has been in on a number of big plays for the Rams today.
The thing with this is that Conlon, you know, he's got one responsibility, and that's the draw or the trap, because basically those are the only run plays. So he's watching Eric Pegram. If Pegram gets the ball, he makes a tackle. They're not asking Shane Conlon to do a whole lot as far as covering anybody. His responsibility today is the run.
On 3rd down and 9, George's pass intended for Terrence Mathis.
Kenny, I don't know if it was the talking that went on all week and the threats from Anthony Newman, don't come inside, but Jeff George has thrown 3 balls high over the middle. So perhaps it's not only affected the receivers, but maybe it's affected him. The in route's going to come right at you, but look at the ball and look at the receiver. That's not even close. And it's a good thing it's not, because Anthony Newman is going to put Mathis in the hospital.
Johnny Bailey back to receive. Harold Alexander. Short, bounces out of bounds at the 21-yard line. So the Rams will take over. Anthony Newman and his Rams fellow defenders holding the Falcons scoreless. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts back in Anaheim. There is 19-year veteran Jackie Slater, the Rams right tackle, 40 years of age. 5th all-time. This is 251st National Football League game. Rams ball, 1st and 10 on their own 23. Jerome Bettis. 2-yard gain for Mr. Bettis. Jackie Slater, Mike Kent, Clay Matthews, Blair Bush, all active in today's game. The 4 active Ironmen in the National Football League. The man in the middle, Jeff Van Note, 18-year Atlanta Falcon. He now does color on the radio. The youngster in this group, all the way on the right, 37-year-old Blair Bush. Second down and 8. Jesse Hester in motion. Play action pass, Chandler, it's complete. Jesse Hester, the former Atlanta Falcon. 6 yards, and Hester knocked out of bounds by Roger Harper.
Boy, the play action is so effective when you're using Jerome Bettis, because they got to respect any run to him. I want you to watch what happens to everybody on defense as Chandler comes out with the play action to Jerome Bettis. We can stop it there. Look how many guys are on this side of the ball. This whole area here is clear. He's got time to throw the football. He has neutralized the rush by coming with an effective play action to Jerome Bettis.
3rd down and 2. Bettis around the left side has the 1st down. Hit by Harper. Gain of 5. So Jerome Bettis, the workhorse so far, with 28 yards on 7 carries and another Rams 1st down.
Boy, Kenny, I tell you, Howard Griffin, the fullback, he put a block on Tuggle that I didn't think you could put on a guy like Tuggle with his strength, bench pressing over 500 pounds. You're going to see number 30. He's following behind Newberry. Watch the hit he puts on Tuggle. He gets him up off the ground. Boy, they say low man wins in this game, and I think they're right.
He nailed the hammer.
He nailed the hammer.
Chandler to pass on 1st down, being chased, it's batted away, and let's see, it is incomplete. Mo Gardner, the man who batted the pass away, and then Chris Dolman looking for the interception.
Gardner, 67, he's inside on the other side of the ball there. He's going to get a great push inside, but look at the push Dolman gets. He creates all the problems. See, he causes Chandler to reload, and now that leaves time for Mo Gardner to come in and get the tip. You got to have one guy who can get upfield fast to put the speed fear in the offensive lineman.
On 2nd down, on the play fake, here's Bettis up across the 40. Jesse Tuggle made the stop.
You know, you look at this Falcon defense, and it's hard to believe that they're 25th in the NFL in total defense. They give up 380 yards per game. They got so much speed, and they got guys like Tuggle and Matthews and Geathers and Dolman on the outside. You know, Chris was saying last night he's a little bit unhappy as we look at Bill Bates, defensive coordinator, about not playing every down. And he's an every down defensive lineman. He wants to get home and rush and play the run and the pass every down.
On 3rd and 6, Chandler's pass is complete on the near side. The tight end, Troy Drayton, hit out of bounds by DJ Johnson. But it is not enough for a Rams 1st down, and Sean Landeta comes out for the 3rd time today.
Yeah, that's another question. I want to know where the tight end is in the Rams offense. We've seen Flipper Anderson, we've seen Hester, we've seen Bailey out of the backfield, we've seen Jerome on the run. But where's the tight end? This is a guy I think they got to get into their offense more so people can't double team and key on Bettis as much.
Landeta at his own 30. Short kick this time by the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week, but he rolls all the way back to the 10-yard line. So Landeta gets a lucky bounce, flags on the play. After the 48-yard punt with some help by Sean Landeta.
I think you got to go back.
Holding during the run back. Number 37 on the offense. Half the distance to the goal, 1st and 10.
That's Elbert Shelley, a Pro Bowler the last 2 years. Called on the hole. The Rams and the Falcons scoreless from Anaheim. Welcome back to the Big A in Anaheim. Kenny Albert along with Ron Pitts. That is Jim Bates, the Falcons defensive coordinator. Falcons now on offense, deep in their own territory. Georgia sacked for the safety. Sean Gilbert, his 2nd sack in as many weeks. Got to Joe Montana last Sunday. Jeff George here today. Folks, it is not baseball, it is not hockey, but it is 2-0 Rams.
Gilbert gets so much double team all week long. He finally gets home. He's right here. He's going to fight through it as George holds the football. But see, that's the strength right there. He just works on his man and gets to the quarterback.
Take it back a minute.
I'll take it.
After the safety, Falcons kickoff. Here's Johnny Bailey. Bailey across the 40 to the 44-yard line. So a good return by Johnny Bailey, 26 yards on the free kick after the sack in the end zone by Sean Gilbert.
Yeah, you know, Jeff held the ball a lot that time, and the rush could get home. But watch the play here on these two guys. That's light right there, and then Bailey comes in the inside. If we can stop it here, hey, folks, there's nothing going on there. They don't realize that George is in trouble. He had to take the sack, or at least try to throw it away. There, Gilbert just getting home. You can see right there, Roman Fortin grabbed a little jersey, but by that time it was written up. It's done. It's a sack, and it's a safety.
And the Rams with the ball, 1st and 10, in good field position from their own 44. Bettis, 3-yard gain. So the Rams lead the Falcons by the score of 2-0. Here in Anaheim, last week the Rams defense shutting out the Kansas City Chiefs. So they have not allowed any points in almost 6 quarters. And the Philadelphia Eagles all over the San Francisco 49ers, 23-0. Total yardage in the first quarter, the Eagles 150 and the 49ers just 4. On 2nd down, Bettis with his 5th reception of the season and a gain of 5. Ron, unless the 49ers come back from that 23-point deficit, the winner of this game could move into a tie for first place in the NFC West. The 49ers 3-1. Both the Rams and the Falcons come in 2-2.
And everybody at Rams camp throughout the week has been really up for this game because they know they went to Kansas City and they beat the big man, Joe Montana, in his home turf. So now they feel if they can get this one, the team will be on the roll.
3rd down and 1. Bettis. Right now, for a McDonald's game break, let's return to our Hollywood studio and James Brown. All right, thanks, JB. 1st down for the Rams on the Falcons 45. Bettis back to Chandler. Chandler looking for Flipper Anderson, and is just out of reach. And Chandler is hurt. Chris Chandler hit after the throw, and Chandler is in pain. There is Tommy Maddox, the backup today, with Chris Miller still suffering from a shoulder injury.
Yeah, they tried to go with the flea flicker on that play and take Kevin Ross and Vinnie Clark downtown. Boy, the speed of Flipper Anderson is incredible. He started out a good 5-10 yards in front of Vinnie before the ball was even thrown. By the time the ball got down to the end zone, they were there.
Ron, our Aflac NFL trivia question: name the last Ram to lead the NFL in rushing. Ron will try and answer the trivia question when we return.
You're going to see George here come around on the pass rush, but watch the way he bends Chandler back and he rolls over on his left ankle. That, folks, is not a pretty picture, and Chandler is in pain immediately. And now, Kenny, the question, we talked to Tommy Maddox yesterday, and I asked him, I said, Tommy, how many snaps have you taken? How many reps have you taken with the regular team? He said none. I said, you're kidding me. You have not taken? He said none. So what are you going to do if you get in the game? He said, well, I'm just going to try to move the chains. I'm not going to try to make any big plays because I haven't played consistently since the Atlanta game, actually, in preseason.
And one of the reasons Tommy Maddox did not take any reps with the starting offense, Chris Miller felt until yesterday morning that he would be okay to back up Chris Chandler. As we take a look one more time at Ron George, number 50, putting the hit on Chris Chandler. It was yesterday morning that Chris Miller went to head coach Chuck Knox and said, I don't think my shoulder is good enough to designate me as the #2 guy. And there is Tommy Maddox in his 3rd NFL season, just 23 years old. Left UCLA 2 years early as Chris Miller watches from the sidelines. If anything happens to Tommy Maddox, Chris Miller can come in the ball game as the 3rd emergency quarterback. 2nd down and 10. Well, you don't need any reps during the week to learn how to hand the ball off to Jerome Bettis, do you?
Well, I got to believe Knox is going to keep it simple for Tommy right now. He's not going to put him in any position where he's got to operate and do too much. But, you know, one thing Tommy told us is that I feel confident about the fact that I know the Falcons blitzes. That's one thing they did to him when they played him at Denver in the preseason. They blitzed him a lot. So he feels comfortable if they do that. But anything else, I think Maddox is going to be walking on tippy toes for a while.
3rd down and 3. The pitch back to Bettis. And he is stopped short of the 1st down. Vinnie Clark in on the stop of Jerome Bettis. Run our Aflac trivia question moments ago. The last Ram to lead the NFL in rushing. And the answer is
Charlie White.
Charles White back in 1987. Almost 1,400 yards. The last Ram to lead the NFL in rushing.
It's hard to believe that at SC, Marcus Allen blocked for him. That's hard to believe. Not that Marcus Allen isn't a good blocker, but you got 2 great running backs like that in the same backfield.
Marcus Allen, our Fox colleague this weekend, working the Lions-Buccaneers telecast. Another short punt by Landetta. Yet once again, he gets the roll. Well, it was the lucky shoes last week, the lucky turf here today. 35-yard punt by Sean Landetta. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts here on Fox, where the LA Rams lead the Atlanta Falcons by the score of 2-0. That is not a misprint. It's the Rams 2 and the Falcons 0 late in this first half. Falcons average start the 8-yard line. George back to the end zone, and he dumps it off to Eric Pegram. So George in danger of yet another safety, finds Pegram, who gains 26 yards.
They just came with a screen, a middle screen. But if you look to the left, they get a hard rush that time by DeMarco Farr, and that opens it up right there. They have nobody in the middle, and that is the problem when you're facing a 4 wide out situation and you only got 2 linebackers in the game. You don't have a whole lot of stuff in the middle to stop that.
From the 33, George's pass is complete. Terrence Mathis, 9-yard gain. Mathis came in with 36 receptions, and that is his 3rd of this afternoon's ball game.
I said DeMarco Farr on that play. That was actually Robert Young came around the corner and got the pressure.
Falcons trailing 2-0. George upfield finds Burt Emanuel inside the Rams 40. So Jeff George today has looked for Mathis. He's looked for Emanuel. Andre Rison has not done much offensively, and his team trailing the Rams 2-0 at the 2-minute warning. Coming up on the Dockers halftime, JB and Terry will have scores and highlights from Week 5 of this 1994 NFL season. That's coming up next on the Dockers halftime. Jeff George and the Falcons first down on the 39-yard line of the Rams. George with some time, and it is intercepted by Marquez Pope. Marquez Pope with his 3rd interception of the season and a return of 43 yards.
That looked like a miscommunication as we look at Jones right here between George and the wide receiver. The ball was thrown. There was no break made at all. The closest man to the ball was Marquez Pope. He looked like he was the receiver. You see here, George, he's going to come down. He's going to do a little half roll. That gives him a little extra time. There's no real pressure. But as we see, we stop it there. There's nobody around him. Here's the nearest man down here at the bottom. And this is the kind of plays that Marquez Pope has been making all year for the Rams so far. Big plays, big interceptions, big hits. Andre Rison is way in the middle of the field. That's not even close. Obviously a mix-up between George and Rison.
First down, Rams on the 28. Tommy Maddox in at quarterback, and he will go to the air. Intended for Tim Lester. The pass incomplete. Jeff George had a streak of 279 passes without an interception, broken 2 weeks ago. Since then, he has thrown 4 picks, and there is Marquez Pope. They call him the pounding pontiff. Hard hitter. The strong safety acquired from San Diego during the offseason.
Yeah, thing about Pope now, he is a corner. He came in as a corner in the league, moved to safety, but he's got those corner skills, and that really plays in when you're playing a 4-wide-out team to have a guy back there that can cover man-to-man and hit.
On second down is Bettis. Chris Chandler, sprained ankle, taken for x-rays. Some extracurricular activity.
Yeah, it's Smith and Middleton going at it right there.
Tommy Maddox, who we mentioned did not take any reps with the first-string offense this week, acquired from the Denver Broncos. He was John Elway's understudy the last 2 years and had a big game against the Falcons during the preseason with Denver. 291 yards and 2 touchdowns, but preseason and regular season, totally different ball games. 3rd down and 8. Maddox with time. The pass is complete. Johnny Bailey has the first down. It was pulled down by Jesse Tuggle. Clock down to 48 seconds in this first half as Tommy Maddox completes his first pass of the game. And a timeout called by the Rams.
Bailey's right here. Tuggle, he's coming out of there. He's faking the blitz. They're just going to try to get him the ball right quick. The only problem is Tuggle is a very, very strong, very fast linebacker. He gets on him. He runs with him as well as he can. But that is what you got to have a guy like Bailey for, that can lean and get that extra yard. He had about a half step on Tuggle, a guy that's very fast, very agile for a linebacker. That's all they needed.
And there is Jesse the Hammer Tuggle. Tommy Maddox out to prove something here today. A guy who was inactive the first 3 weeks of the season. He feels that with good performances, when he gets the opportunity, there's Tony Zendejas on the sidelines. With the expansion teams coming in next year, or perhaps the Rams looking for a quarterback of the future, Tommy Maddox hopes he is that guy. On first down, Maddox goes end zone, and it is picked off. DJ Johnson with his 5th interception in 5 weeks.
Tommy threw to a spot, and he didn't look and see where the defender was. It's like crossing the street, even though the sign says walk. That doesn't mean that there aren't cars coming. That time, DJ Johnson, he's sitting there. He does not go for the fake. We're going to see it here. That's DJ right there. He's going to get an inside move and then out to the outside. Right there, we can stop it. He doesn't take the fake in here. He sits back in there, and he's right there for the ball. Tommy's got to pull that ball down and realize that DJ did not go for the fake and go somewhere else with it. Tommy's the kind of guy, he's got that look like, you know, he's always happy, carefree. Even when he's mad right there, he's still got that real happy look at his face.
Well, all those UCLA guys are happy-go-lucky type guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff George back to work. He was picked off moments ago, and he finds the tight end, Mitch Lyons. Pushed out of bounds by the combination of Todd White and Robert Bailey. That's the 2nd reception of the game for the tight end, who is very rarely used in this run and shoot offense.
That's the first question we asked June when he walked into the meeting last night. We said, June, how much are you going to use a tight end? He kind of just shook his head, nah, not very much. You know, but as we can see, he starts the game with the tight end, and the tight end has caught some balls here today.
2 receptions for the tight end, Mitch Lyons, who came in with none over the first 4 games. George's pass is complete. It's Lyons once again. His 3rd catch of the game, clock down to 30 seconds remaining in this first half. Mitch Lyons, who suffered a broken ankle during the preseason, second-year man out of Michigan State. The Rams lead 2-0 on the 2 RBI double by Bo Jackson, driving in Gary DiSarcina and Chad Curtis. Actually, the field looks very nice
here at Anaheim Stadium, the baseball field. Right?
Without the dirt in the end zone. The draw play, Eric Pegram, wrestled down by Jimmy Jones at the 47-yard line, and the Falcons call timeout with 24 seconds to go. Ron, we were here opening week, dirt in the end zone. Now, nice Rams logo. No sign of baseball.
As we look at DJ there, you know, DJ, there's a guy that played in the shadow of Rod Woodson for a lot of years in Pittsburgh, and I think coming down here, you know, he finally got out of that and he could be his own guy and play his game and show everybody, which he's doing now and he's done today, that I'm a player. I can make the big plays. And that happens a lot to guys. They get in situations, they get behind people as backups, and nobody ever really knows. Excuse me, not a backup, but even with another guy on a team that's very good, nobody really knows how good this guy can be until he is in a position where he's spotlighted.
Perfect example, the entire Rams or Falcons secondary out of the shadow of Deion Sanders.
Exactly, right. And there's one guy that's showing up already.
2nd and 2 from the 47. Final minute of this first half. Rookie Sanders, Wyman Henderson on the stop. And another Falcons timeout with 18 seconds to go. Falcons moving the ball well, but they were forced to punt on their first 3 possessions, including 2 11-play drives, but they could not get into scoring position. Then the safety, and then the interception. But Jeff George on the day, 14 of 20, 160 yards, yet the Falcons have not scored.
Well, one of the things the Rams are doing in the secondary is that they're playing a lot of zone, but it's called an aggressive zone, meaning they're not just going to stand there and kill grass. They're going to play man-to-man on whoever is in their zone, and that's the problem here. 2 plays ago, Andre Rison hooked up around the hash area. George looked at him, but Wyman Henderson is standing right in his hip pocket, and it's been like that across the board. Plus, you got guys like Pope and Newman deep to threaten anything that comes in the middle or to the outside. It makes it hard.
18 seconds remaining, first half. George, incomplete, intended for Terrence Mathis. Robert Bailey on the coverage.
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about right there. They're sitting back in a zone. When somebody comes into their area, they're jumping on it and being aggressive. We're going to see here Bailey, he's going to be to the right of the screen. They're going to run just a little out route. He's sitting back and not really playing aggressive, but as soon as he realizes the man is in his zone, now he takes off. And then he undercuts everything because he's got help deep. That's aggressive play, and that's what's hurting the Falcons.
14 seconds to go, second down. George scrambling, and he runs out of bounds at the 44. Ron, do you think the fact that many of the Atlanta Falcons showed up an hour later than usual has anything to do with the fact that they are being shut out here in the first half? Their bus was supposed to leave their hotel 5 minutes from the stadium at 10 o'clock. Well, the driver took the Falcons on a little ride. I wonder if the driver was a Rams fan. And 1 hour and 10 minutes later, after a trip to Long Beach, the Falcons' entire coaching staff and many of the players arrived at 11:15, less than 2 hours before game time.
It's only a 5-minute ride. I guess they wanted to see LA. They knew they couldn't get a chance to afterwards.
It's a good thing the meter wasn't running. George airs it out, and he finds Bert Emanuel up at the 34-yard line. Enough for a Falcons first down, but just 4 seconds remain in this second quarter.
Falcons just trying to get close enough now to give Norm Johnson, a guy I played with at UCLA, some room to fit one in. And a guy like Norm, very consistent, very accurate. You know, they're going to have to rely on him today. And in spite of what's gone on for the Rams in their favor, Kenny, it's still a 2-0 game. I mean, there's nothing for the Falcons to go into the locker room holding their head about.
This a 51-yard attempt, his career best, 54. Harold Alexander holding, and the kick is wide right. Norm Johnson, who missed only 1 field goal last year, is now 4 of 7, but all the misses are from 50 or deeper. That's the end of the first half. It's 2-0 Rams. Welcome back to the Big A, Anaheim Stadium, Anaheim, California. We are at halftime, and the Los Angeles Rams lead the Atlanta Falcons by the score. Yes, it is 2-0. Ron Pitts. I'm Kenny Albert. Last week, the LA Rams shut out the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. They shut out Joe Montana while the Falcons were involved in a high-scoring game with the Washington Redskins. But here today, 2-0, the only scoring coming on a sack.
I'm starting to wonder, you know, what Anthony Newman talked about, don't come across the middle. Has that had an effect on Rising and the guys throwing it? Because we've seen George throw a couple high ones in there. But I think it's their style of defense and how they're playing. You look at the zones and the underneath coverage, and they're just locking on to everybody. Nobody can get loose, and I think that's hurt George and it's helped the Rams so far.
And we will take a look now at our first half proof positive by MCI highlight. The only scoring of the first half, and it came on a sack.
Sean Gilbert is right there. He's working on Roman Fortin. I want you to watch the way he slaps his hands at the last minute. He'll slap his hands and he'll get in on the quarterback right there. Now that way, Roman Fortin has lost leverage. And you're going to see now Gilbert is just going to have a direct line to the quarterback. But you got to couple that, Kenny, with great effort down the field as far as coverage is concerned. I mean, those guys, they are on the man-to-man. Like I said, they're playing that zone where they can play off, but then when the man comes into their area, they lock on to him.
First half statistics with the Rams leading the Falcons by the score of 2-0. Yet it is the Falcons with a 2-1 margin. Total yards 199. Rams just 88. Rams only 6 first downs. And the time of possession pretty even, although it is the Rams with the 2-0 lead on the safety. Sean Gilbert sacking Jeff George in the end zone. George has passed for 160 yards through the first half. DJ Johnson of the Falcons with the interception towards the end of the first half, picking off Tommy Maddox in the end zone. He leads the NFC with 5 interceptions. Johnson, one of a number of superstars signed or acquired by the Falcons during the offseason. Jeff George, 70% completion ratio. Terrence Mathis leading the NFL in receptions. And Craig Ironhead Hayward, who we have not yet seen carry the ball in the first half, averaging 5.7 yards per carry.
You know, you look at Mathis there and the receptions. That's one of the things they talked about all week long on the Rams side of the ball, is that George looks to the side of Rising and Mathis, you know, all the time. He's like 60% throwing to his left. So I think they've really concentrated on taking away that tandem right there and making George try to throw someplace else.
David Lang on the left, number 38. Number 21 is Johnny Bailey, getting set to receive the Norm Johnson kickoff. Johnson wide right on a 51-yard field goal as time expired in the second quarter. It's the Rams 2, the Falcons nothing, as the ball blows off the tee here in Los Angeles. There is the new 1-inch tee in place this season in the National Football League. And now we are set to go as Johnson's kickoff is played by Johnny Bailey at the 10. Bailey stutter steps. He was tripped up by Vinnie Clark. So the Rams will start out inside their own 30-yard line. Jerome Bettis in the first half, 13 carries, 45 yards.
Yeah, you can see everything has been up the middle for him. That's his power. You know, you get him up the middle, and for a guy that size, he can really run very well, and he's a lot quicker than people think.
Tommy Maddox in at quarterback, and I'm sure he will be handing the ball off to Jerome Bettis many times here in this second half. First down from the 28. Bettis across the 35. 8-yard gain for the second-year running back out of Notre Dame. Ron, we are told the x-rays were negative on Rams quarterback Chris Chandler, who went down during the second quarter. Tommy Maddox in his third year out of UCLA. The average starting field position, Rams once again with much better field position than the Falcons throughout the entire game. Jerome Bettis up to the 46. 8-yard gain.
And Kenny, look at where they're running the football. Wouldn't you run it over the All-Pro, the guy who's been there the longest, Jackie Slater, right there? I want you to watch the block he gets on Lester Archambault. He's just going to hold him just enough. That's called a reach block. He just wants to establish ground and hold him just enough that Archambault can't get out there.
And there is Jackie Slater in his 19th season. First down and 10. Bettis across midfield. Jerome Bettis began his string of 3 consecutive 100-yard games against the Falcons at the Georgia Dome. 24 carries, 102 yards. So far today, 69 yards on 16 carries.
You know, Jerome talked to us about how he goes up to Denver and he trains because he's got asthma. And he likes to go to the high altitude to train, and it really pays off. If you're going to carry the ball 30, 35 times a game, you got to have yourself in shape, and I think this man is in great shape.
From the Falcons 48, Bettis. Jerome Bettis has carried the ball all 4 plays from scrimmage here in this third quarter for the Rams. As we mentioned earlier, Jerome handled the ball 16 consecutive plays at one point last week in the 16-0 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. Ron, Wayne Gandy has checked in, number 70, the first-round draft pick out of Auburn, and he is eligible. Here's Bettis up to the 42-yard line. Wayne Gordon, number 53, on the stop. Ron, we saw the Rams practicing the tackle-eligible play down at the goal line in practice on Friday. And Gandy was in on that play, but now returns. First-round draft pick. The Rams passed on Trent Dilfer and Trev Alberts in round number 1 and went for the left tackle Wayne Gandy.
You know, interesting thing about that, one of only 5 offensive linemen selected in the first round by Chuck Knox. You know, he likes to do the run, but he's really not high on getting those guys in the first round.
Jesse Hester in motion. Flag on the play as Maddox's pass is batted down at the line of scrimmage. The infraction on the Rams, so that will move Los Angeles back.
In all fairness to Maddox, this is the first time the Bullets have been live for him since the preseason. So, you know, things like
illegal motion, number 83 on the offense. That penalty is declined. It's second down.
things like throwing into guys, you know, where their hands are there in your face and things like that. He's got to know and got to get a feel for when he can make throws and when he can't make throws. Like I said, I don't think Chuck Knox is going to put him in a position right now where he can make too many mistakes. They're going to keep it fairly conservative for him. But he is a good quarterback and he can make some throws. Don't deny that.
Here's Bettis to his left. Wrestled out of bounds by Scott Case. Around the Rams with a new center. It is Tom Newberry moving over from left guard. Bernd Brostek is out with a pair of sprained ankles. Brostek last missed a snap during the '92 season when he lost a contact lens.
A pair, did you say, of sprained ankles?
A pair of sprained ankles.
Boy, you got to take a heck of a fall to get a pair of sprained ankles.
So
wow.
Tom Newberry moves over from left guard. Chuck Bellin, second-year man out of Wisconsin. Now in that spot, whistles and flags.
Timeout number 1 for the Falcons.
Well, the flag was inadvertent. Timeout called by the Falcons with 4 minutes gone by in this third quarter. The Rams continue to lead Atlanta by the score of 2-0. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts in Anaheim. That is Chuck Bellin, the left guard. Bettis. Jerome Bettis using Chuck Bellin on that play. Bellin, who collapsed in practice on Wednesday due to an asthma attack, played his first NFL game last week against the Chiefs, thrown right into the fire here this afternoon with the center Brostek out. Tom Newberry moved over from left guard to the center position.
Bellin right here, he's number 71. He's going to do a good job of driving everybody out of the hole. If we could stop it right there, there's the hole. He pushes his man just enough to get a seam for Bettis, and he doesn't need much for the first down.
Here's Bettis once again, pulled down by Lester Archambault.
Yeah, the dual sprained ankles. Really not sure how he got it. You know, he lives in Honolulu in the offseason, and maybe an old boogie boarding injury or surfing injury or something like that.
Well, it has not been a good day for ex-Washington Huskies. Both Chris Chandler and Bernd Brostek were teammates at the University of Washington. Both out of the ball game. Second down and 7. Bettis finds a hole. Looking down the play. Bettis across the 10, the 5, all the way down to the 1-yard line. But there is a flag, and it is holding on the Rams. Holding call on the Rams. So the 27-yard run by Bettis is called back.
And that's why you got to go to high altitude and train, because he's sucking a little air right now. And in that third quarter against Kansas City last week, there was a time where I thought he was
holding number 71 on the offense. 10 yards, still second down.
Well, I thought he was going to pass out. But there he is. We talked about Bellin coming in, wanting to make an impact. Bellin 71 right there. Let's see if we can pick up the hold. He's working on Mo Gardner. Yeah, that left hand, he's all around his collar. That's a good call. In that case, you know, he's just got to let Mo Gardner go. Mo Gardner's taking himself out of the play if they're running a draw. You know, that's just a mistake you make when you haven't been in a lot.
For the Rams, only their third penalty of the game. Jerome Bettis taking a breather on second down and 17. Maddox dumps it off. Johnny Bailey across the 25, all the way down to the 22-yard line. So with Jerome Bettis on the sidelines, Maddox found Johnny Bailey for the big gain and the first down.
Dolman, watch Dolman. He comes up the field so hard, but that's the guy they got to get the ball away from and beat him. They beat Dolman, and now they got Bailey out in the flat there. Nobody's around him, and he makes a good gain out of it. But the trick is to let Dolman come up the field hard enough and fast enough that you got somebody back there. Well, they don't have anybody back there to pick it up. And there we see Bettis getting a little treatment.
Would Jerome Bettis feel this bad if the play was not called back?
It's hard to say.
This season, Jerome Bettis with 479 yards through the first 5 games. The rest of the team has carried the ball only 16 times.
You know, he's starting to get back on track, too. Last week he had his third 100-yard game in a row. So, you know, with a slow start, guys like that, they need to pump the ball a lot every week to get going. You know, they just don't start out hot. You got to get it to them and let them get a rhythm going.
Third down and inches. Bettis takes it himself.
Okay, easy. Easy does it.
My question is, where do you spot the football in a case like this? The official, he doesn't know exactly where Maddox's last momentum was. He has no idea where to put that ball. He's going to take a guess. I mean, they got guys on the side judge, he comes running in with what he thinks is a spot. The official there at the pile, he comes in with what he thinks is a spot. But you know what? they all roll dice.
Well, that's why we are up here. And the officials are down on the field. And it is a Rams first down.
Low man wins in this game. Watch the surge the white shirts get. And actually, the black shirts got the surge that time, but Maddox didn't need to go very far. I think he might have got it on that last push right there.
This is David Lang. And he fumbles on the play. Bellin is there along with 3 Falcons. And it looks as if Chuck Bellin has recovered the fumble.
A lot of good and a lot of bad for Chuck Bellin today, I tell you.
A lot of good and a lot of bad for David Lang on that one play. Broke for a big gain and then lost the football.
Falcons coming with the blitz right now. Here's the problem with the blitz. If they catch you coming in the wrong gaps, they can hurt you. And the right gap is the A gap for the Rams. That's right inside. But see, he loses the ball on his own. He's trying to switch hands right there and just loses it on his own. That's the type of thing that drives Chuck Knox up the wall. I mean, they were good in turnovers last week, and then you have dumb mistakes like that.
Lang once again down to the 7-yard line.
And the cheer for Jerome Bettis coming back into the football game. The big man just needed a rest, that's all. For a while there, he was literally sucking air, Kenny. I mean, we talk about guy being tired and sucking air, but he had that oxygen going. He was trying to get back. Take a look at what the Rams are in the red zone. 3 touchdowns, 5. They've had a little trouble getting the 6 points out of it. But the important thing, I think, is you got to get points, period, down here.
Maddox had some trouble with the snap. Flag on the play. Maddox downs the ball back on the 13-yard line.
False start. The quarterback came out of the center without the ball. Number 8, 5 yards, still second down.
How many false starts have you seen on the quarterback? Tommy Maddox, they said he pulled out a little early. Let's see if we can catch it. How are you going to, well, you know, how are you going to call that on Maddox and not the 4 other guys around the center that pulled out too? I guess they got to call it on somebody. I think now they're punishing, I'm sorry, King, they're punishing him for not remembering the snap count is what they're doing.
Remember, not only a new Rams quarterback, but a new center in Tom Newberry. 14th play of the drive. Jerome Bettis. The Rams have controlled the ball, Ron, for 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, the possession's a big key. They held it for 11 minutes last week against Kansas City in that all-important third-quarter drive. But, you know, you brought up a good point, Kenny, talking about a new center now. I mean, not only do we have a new quarterback, how many snaps has Newberry taken in practice at center? Like, this could be disastrous for Chuck Knox if they put themselves in a position where they have to play catch-up football. Right now, this is tailor-made for Chuck Knox and his offense.
3rd down and 11. Maddox from the shotgun. The pass is short, intended for Flipper Anderson. You mentioned, Ron, a moment ago, inside the red zone. Only 3 touchdowns and 11 opportunities. And right now, Tony Zendejas trots out of the field. to attempt a 27-yard field goal.
But you know, you got to understand the pressure on the quarterback in this area of the field. Ever since Little League football, you know, they have been taught do not throw the interception down here, so they're going to be more apt to make a bad throw or throw it in the dirt instead of giving up the interception.
Maddox is the holder. The kick by Zendejas is good from 28 yards officially. It is now the Rams 5, the Falcons nothing. It's the Rams 5, the Falcons nothing. The Zendejas kickoff played by Eric Pegram, his first return of the season. 25 yards on the return by Eric Pegram. Thomas Humko on the stop. We'll be back to the Big A in just a moment. Kenny Albert along with Ron Pitts. There is Jeff George, the Atlanta Falcons quarterback. Threw for 175 yards in the first half, and this, the first Atlanta possession of the second half after the Rams consumed 9 minutes, 10 seconds, culminating in the field goal at a first down. Bert Emanuel, a favorite target of George today, his 5th reception, and it is good for 15 yards.
Yeah, you got a chance to look at Jeff George's release that time. I mean, they talk about Dan Marino and his release and his arm strength, but this guy can really fire it. I think they found a way to get to the Rams zone. Emmanuel just kind of works his way away from everybody, and George has the time to wait on. But look at that rocket. Well, that's a shot right there.
First down and 10. Eric Pegram spins his way to the 49-yard line. Jimmy Jones on the stop after a 6-yard gain by Pegram.
Rams doing a real good job of keeping at least 6 men in the box. What I mean by the box is the area between inside the 2 offensive tackles. In a run and shoot style, they look and see how many guys are in that box, and that'll determine whether or not they'll run or pass the ball on most occasions. Not all, but on some or most occasions. Rams are now trying to force them to pass most of the time by keeping guys in that box and keep Eric Pegram out of the game.
From the 49, the draw play. Here's Pegram. Jones in on the initial hit, and then Pegram worked away from Jones, gained perhaps 1 yard. It will be 3rd down and 3.
See, that's a good look at it right there, Kenny. Conlon and Kelly standing right there. They're not going to move until they know it's passed for sure. They're in the box, and they stop it up. They don't let Pegram get any yards. They felt that Pegram was the guy. And once he starts rolling, now the run and shoot hurts you because it's hard for the rush to get to the quarterback. The wideouts have more time to work on the corners.
Atlanta 4 of 7 on 3rd downs today. And the snap over the head of George. He regains and finds Risen short of the first down. And Robert Bailey and Todd Light make sure to let Risen know that he did not gain enough yards. Only the 3rd ball caught today by Andre Risen.
Yeah, but the problem is the snap. For the 2nd time today, he's gotten a high snap. Now, what this does is it takes his focus and his vision away from downfield. See, look at him. He's looking at just getting the ball. Andre Risen had to come back upfield a couple steps, and those few steps were the reasons why they missed the first down.
Harold Alexander to punt. Johnny Bailey awaited.
Oh, they get everybody moving now.
False start. Offensive line. 5 yards. Still 4th down.
The entire offensive line.
Well, you know, why don't you just watch all these guys here, even the 2 end men. Everybody pulls up. And I don't know why there's only a 4-man rush by the Rams. It's not like they have a real threat to block the punt.
High kick by Alexander. Bailey lets it go, and it rolls into the end zone. So the Rams will take over on the 20 after the 55-yard punt by Alexander.
There's Chandler right there. All dressed up in the street clothes, back on the field.
X-ray is negative on Chandler's ankle. There is Bern Brostek, who sprained 2 ankles.
Not a good day for ankles here in Anaheim if you're a Ram.
No, it is not. Tommy Maddox still in at quarterback in relief of Chris Chandler. Bettis gains 3 yards, now 94 this afternoon.
Yeah, that's a good look that time at that cutback and what happens when you don't block the backside. Kevin Ross, the corner safety combination man, he came up and made a good play. So they're going to take off and they're going to run this way to get everybody going this way. He's going to cut it back. We know that. But I want you to watch 36, Kevin Ross. That's the guy they don't account for. He beats the block and makes the play.
On second down, Bettis up the middle. He has the first down. That's the 7th first down for Jerome Bettis this afternoon, as he goes over the 100-yard mark for the 4th consecutive game. 102 yards for Jerome Bettis on 24 carries. In fact, those were his numbers against the Falcons week 2. 24 carries, 102 yards.
And you know, like the graphic showed us, Jerome Bettis' strength is right up the middle. And he's powerful, he can hurt people, and then he's got the speed after he gets through the hole to go the distance.
Bettis on the stutter step. Brought down by Pierce Holt for Jerome Bettis, his 11th career 100-yard game.
Great move that time by Bettis. You look at that sidestep he did. I'm used to seeing guys like Emmitt Smith do that and Thurman Thomas, but that time, you know, Bettis shows I got quick feet too.
Under 2 minutes to go in this 3rd quarter. It's the Rams 5, the Falcons nothing. A safety in the 2nd quarter when Sean Gilbert sacked Jeff George in the end zone. And a 28-yard field goal by Tony Zendejas in the 3rd. Bettis stopped behind the line. Jumpy Geathers, the first man in.
Guy who threw that play off for the Rams was 57, Clay Matthews. He came up in the middle that time and engaged on the center, Newberry, and that allowed the heat from the outside to get there. That's a guy that is really, 17 years in the league. He has really been able to step his game up every single year. It's like there's no drop off from him. You don't see him lose a step. It seems like he gets better every year.
3rd down and 9. Maddox, and it is incomplete, almost intercepted by Kevin Ross.
Yeah, those are the positions now that Knox doesn't want to put Tommy Maddox in, having to make a throw, a complex play, make a throw. That's not what he wants. He wants to keep it on the ground. Watch 90, Chuck Smith right there. Watch the pass rush he gets. Look at him come off the ball. Well, there's nothing like getting the jump, and he's working on Gandy. Maddox steps up, but you know what? He feels that. Now he's got to step back out and reload, and it's hard to do, and it's even harder for a guy to do that hadn't had the reps.
Clarence Verdun awaiting the Sean Landeta punt. Landeta forces Verdun all the way back to the 18. Verdun finds it open. A flag on the play. Look at Verdun go. But there is a flag. We will have to wait and see what the call is as Verdun goes all the way 81 yards. And it is on the Falcons.
Now that's a heartbreaker. Frank Gantz right there, special teams coach there, also involved as an assistant head coach with the offense. You know, he told me over the phone this week, I'm really not happy with the way the special teams have played.
Illegal block during the run back. Number 37, 10 yards, first down.
That was the main reason they let go of Tony Smith and brought in Clarence Verdun to try to speed up the game and jumpstart their whole special team. Right here, you're going to see the clip on this man. He's going to commit the clip on this man right here. Excuse me, that the other man. He gets a block right there on his back, and that's what they call. It's not hard to see.
Albert Shelley.
Special team standout. Even the Pro Bowlers make bad plays.
His second penalty of the game. Atlanta first down from the 15. George in trouble, escapes, still looking downfield. He found Craig Hayward, but the ball bounced in and out of the hands of Ironhead Hayward. And George took a hit from Fred Stokes. Jeff George is down to the end zone.
Stokes is on full pursuit, and he gets a good face shot on him. It'll go face head mask to face mask, and you can see right there George's head go up, and he goes right to his face, and he holds his head.
There is Bobby Hebert, the Falcons' backup quarterback. Chris Chandler on the Rams side out of the game, and Jeff George took a hard blow to the head from Georgia native Fred Stokes. And George is still down in the end zone. Fred Stokes, native of Vidalia, Georgia, needed 50 tickets for the Rams game in Atlanta 3 weeks ago. And here he puts the big hit on Jeff George.
You know, that's totally legal. Stokes gets that extra step. You're allowed one step after the release of the football, but you can see it's helmet to helmet. And we don't want to speculate right now, Kenny, as to the injury, but obviously George is in pain. We look at what happens under pressure. The sacks stand out, the hurries stand out. But I think the thing that really stands out is the interceptions. Turnovers result when you get pressure, even though you don't always get the sack.
In the earlier game against the Rams, George was not sacked, but the Rams have gotten to Jeff 3 times so far today.
And now we're going to flip the coin, and we're going to see another backup quarterback come in to have to play.
Bobby Hebert, who got into the game against the Rams 3 weeks ago, was 1 of 3. Spent 7 years with the Saints. This is second year in Atlanta. Last year, only Steve Young and John Elway threw more touchdowns than Bobby Hebert, 24 on the season. Underwent elbow surgery during the offseason. And with Jeff George being helped off the field, it is now a battle of Bobby Hebert and Tommy Maddox.
You're going to talk about a guy that's taken some hits and knows what pain is all about. Hebert, throughout his career, he's had 8 concussions, 6 broken ribs, and 4 knee operations.
So Bobby Hebert getting set to lead the Falcons. There is Perry Klein out of C.W. Post College on Long Island, a native of Santa Monica, California. Started his collegiate career at the University of California, then went on and set numerous records at C.W. Post. Second down and 10 for Bobby Hebert and the Atlanta Falcons. And Hebert loses the football. He was hit by Roman Pfeiffer, who did not play in the first half.
Pfeiffer comes in on the play right here. The problem, you know, we got to give the credit. He comes in on a delayed blitz, but we got to give the credit to the defensive backfield. They don't have anybody to throw to. And that's a blindside shot for Hebert. He never sees that, and the ball's laying on the ground.
And that is the end of the third quarter. The Rams lead the Falcons 5-0. There's Jeff George on the Atlanta Falcons bench. Ron, in recent weeks, the majority of newspaper articles and television stories regarding the Rams revolving around off-the-field problems, but they lead this one 5-0. Kenny Albert Ron pitch back in Anaheim. This is Craig Hayward on the pitch from Bobby Hebert. Hayward all the way up to the 28-yard line. 18-yard gain for Ironhead Hayward. Jerome Bettis, 4th consecutive 100-yard game. And the starting quarterbacks, Chris Chandler and Jeff George, both out of the game due to injuries.
Yeah, but look at the deepest penetration now. You know, 37-yard line for Atlanta in LA's territory. They're having trouble in that red area too.
It is now Bobby Hebert's Atlanta Falcons squad here in this 4th quarter. First down and 10. Hayward bottled up at the 30.
Well, I tell you what, George Dyer, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, he talked about how fired up this team was all week long. And now there's an added fixture in this game, the crowd. We haven't heard the crowd in a game like this for a long time, and now they're into it. There's Dyer right there. I mean, they are just 100% pumped. And, you know, the talking now maybe is coming back to bite the Falcons.
The crowd moments ago chanting defense. The Rams have not allowed a point in over 7 quarters. Second down and 7. Hebert finds Bert Emanuel. Darrell Henley on the coverage run, as I was mentioning moments ago before we went to commercial at the end of the 3rd quarter. The majority of articles and television stories regarding the Rams recently involve a possible move to Baltimore, St. Louis, or Hartford, and the off-the-field problems of number 20, Darrell Henley. But should the Rams hold on and win today, with the 49ers losing 33-8 to the Eagles, the Rams could be tied for first place in the NFC West in less than an hour. On first down, the Falcons keep it on the ground. Ironhead Hayward, who did not carry the ball in the first half. 7th year out of Pittsburgh, former New Orleans Saint and Chicago Bear. The story surrounding the Atlanta Falcons the first 4 weeks, Andre Rison and Terrence Mathis combining for 69 receptions, but here today, Rison with only 2, Mathis 3, and the man who throws them the ball so effectively, Jeff George, is on the Atlanta bench. On second down, Hebert is complete. Ricky Sanders, 12-yard gain, and right now let's go back to our Hollywood studios for an NFL update with James Brown. JB? So the only undefeated team in the NFC losing by 14. Ron, Jeff George, we are told, with a concussion. First down and 10, and Hebert gets it off to Hayward. Bobby Hebert was in the grasp of number 75, DeMarco Farr, and it is ruled a sack.
Boy, look at the penetration that DeMarco Farr gets. They talk about the depth on this Ram line. They got great depth in their defensive line area. He's going to come right up the gut. Hebert is trying to look downfield, and you know something? It almost looks like Farr was in the huddle. I mean, he is there so fast, nobody touches him, and he makes the play.
The first career sack for the rookie free agent out of the University of Washington, who is a huge wrestling fan. He met Hulk Hogan a couple of years back.
Yeah, after he sent in 60 cereal box tops to go meet the guy.
As a youngster, his brothers were nicknamed Hulk and Basher, and DeMarco was the dummy.
Yeah, he was, for getting thrown around the room and breaking up furniture. He's no dummy now. He's just getting sacks, that's all.
Rams, of course, shut out Joe Montana and the Chiefs last week. 11 minutes to play, and they lead 5-0. Mathis in motion. Hebert, and it is incomplete, intended for Ricky Sanders. Wyman Henderson breaks it up.
Rams are just playing great defense all over the field right now. Wyman Henderson stepping in there. He's playing inside mainly. He'll play that inside receiver, but he just makes a great play on the football.
This the 10th play of the Falcons' drive. 3rd and 17 from midfield. Hebert steps up, and it is almost intercepted by Anthony Newman as the Rams triple-teamed Andre Rison. Is the Rams defense fired up today or what?
Well, Anthony Newman, I got a feeling he's been waiting all day for that play. Light is going to ride Rison, and they're going to come inside at the last minute, and look at the jump that Anthony Newman gets. You know, Anthony gave it up that time. He said, forget the knockout hit, because he could have easily gone right at Rison to try to get the hit. He went for the interception.
The crowd sarcastically chanting, Andre, Andre. Here's the punt by Harold Alexander, and it is a good one, forcing Bailey back to the 7. Johnny Bailey, 16-yard return. Stopped by Jesse Tuggle. 42-yard punt by Harold Alexander. And we have a fight near midfield. Scott Case of the Falcons involved.
I'll tell you what, if you're fighting with Scott Case, you got your work cut out for you, because that's a tough little cookie there.
That is Troy Drayton, the Rams tight end. Scott Case, the longtime Kansas City Chief. They call Scott Case the human destroyer. I'm not sure Troy Drayton wanted to find out exactly what Case destroys.
Well, for a long time, Case was a corner. It was one of the top corners in the league. They moved him back to safety, but he's always had a reputation of being a guy that would knock the insides of your helmet out. Like all those Oklahoma defensive backs are, tough guys that will come up and hit you.
We have holding by the offense prior to the kick. We have unsportsmanlike conduct both ways after the ball was dead. By rule, it'll be the receiver's ball where they returned it. First down at 10.
You know, earlier in the game, Bailey was messing with Case, and they were doing a lot of talking. And I think now Case is getting back at him for it.
You're big everywhere in California. So is Tommy Maddox as he finds Flipper Anderson. The UCLA combination, although they never played together as Bruins. Tommy Maddox and Flipper Anderson combining on a 13-yard pass play.
You know, Maddox talked about how he just wants to go to a team where he can start. And I don't think yesterday he had in mind that he might possibly be playing in this game, but you know, now he's getting a chance to do what he wants to do. That's get on the field and play after being in the shadow of John Elway for the past few years.
Jerome Bettis adding to his totals for the day. Picks up 4. Now 107 yards. Ron, we can honestly say that the winner of the Rams-Falcons will be tied for first place with the 49ers, who now trail the Eagles 40-8.
And the thing about that game, you know, the 49er game, that was in San Francisco. That makes you wonder how good the 49ers are and how good the Eagles really are.
The Falcons will face Deion Sanders and the 49ers 2 weeks from today. On 2nd and 7, Maddox scrambling to his right, and it is complete. Isaac Bruce inside the 45-yard line of the Falcons. 16-yard pass play for Isaac Bruce, his first reception of the ball game.
I want you to watch the blocking that goes on this side of the line of scrimmage that gives Maddox the time out here to find his receiver. That's Goes and, of course, Jackie and Troy Drayton. You got some guys here. If we can stop it, he's got time. He's got time, and he's got clear vision around here. There's no linebackers underneath, and he can make the throw.
Tommy Maddox, 4 of 9, 54 yards. On first down, Bettis gets away from the first tackler. That was Chuck Smith, and he is able to pick up a couple.
Did Ron Middleton make the tackle? I think he did. Ron Middleton, he's going to be on the left side. He's trying to make a block as a tight end, number 87. But watch as he gets turned around and fights away from Tippins. He ends up almost tackling Jerome Bettis.
Well, Ron Middleton started his career with the Falcons. Perhaps he forgot which side of the ball he was on.
He's having flashbacks.
Flashbacks to the 1987 season. Ron Middleton, also a former Washington Redskin. On 2nd down and 9, the pass is incomplete. Intended for the tight end, Troy Drayton. It will be 3rd down for the Rams with Tommy Maddox in relief of the injured Chris Chandler.
Yeah, Tommy told us, you know, it was fun when he came into the league at Denver. You know, he was all excited. He left college early, 2 years early. And it was okay to back up. But he said, you know, the last year coming into camp, I was starting to say to myself, you know, this isn't happening. I got to get out of here. And it wasn't that he didn't like Reeves or they got along great with Elway, but he just wanted to go someplace where he could be the man.
On 3rd down, the pass is short. Intended for Todd Kinchin. So Maddox and company will return to the sidelines as Sean Landeta steps on. With 7:37 to go in this 4th quarter, it's the Rams leading the Falcons 5-0, a safety and a 28-yard field goal by Tony Zendejas. The Rams shut out Kansas City last week, and they have kept Atlanta off the scoreboard here today. The Falcons scored 31 points the first meeting with the Rams just 3 weeks ago. Clarence Verdun makes the fair catch, sliding out of bounds at the 11. 32-yard punt by Landeta. 5-0 Rams. Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts from Anaheim Stadium.
Don't say it. Those aren't friends of mine.
Although you did need a number of tickets for today's game.
Yeah, that guy there, boy, he needs a couple aspirin, I think.
Jeff George suffered a concussion after a 3rd quarter hit by Fred Stokes. Bobby Hebert and the Falcons start out from their own 11-yard line. Hebert's pass is complete. Andre Rison upended. Well, he went over the middle and took the hit from Darrell Henley.
That's been the play that folks have been waiting for around here all day long, all week long. It's a deep end. It's a territory that belongs to the safeties, and when you go in there, you got to pay a toll. But this guy here, folks, is a Pro Bowler. He makes the hit and has the presence of mind to get his feet up in the air trying to hurdle over Darrell Henley.
Rison's first reception of the second half. So the Falcons with some breathing room now from the 24. Here's Ricky Sanders, spins his way up to the 38-yard line. Gain of 13 yards.
But you know what? Everybody's going to be quiet now because Rison proved that he could go over the middle and catch the ball and still keep running and come out alive. Newman and Polk, they've proven they've come up with the big hits and the big interceptions. So I think everybody will be quiet after this game.
Clock down to 6:23 remaining. 5-0 Rams. Mathis in motion. Hebert on first down with some time. Pass is completed. Ricky Sanders once again. for Ricky Sanders. His 5th reception of the ball game.
Yeah, they had a crazy kind of matchup that time. Shane Conlon running man for man on Ricky Sanders, and I'm not taking anything away from Shane. I played with Shane up in Buffalo, but got to be an easier way to do it than that.
Well, the Falcons have had success over the first 4 weeks. Long scoring drives, 10 touchdown drives of 50 or more yards. Falcons started this drive from their own 11. 2nd down and 1. Hebert finds Rison. Wrestled out of bounds by Todd Light.
Yeah, let's give some credit to Todd Light here. Here's a guy that has struggled with his technique, I think, the past couple years. And I know for a fact in training camp, he really settled down and really got his head into the game. He came back with a totally different attitude about his technique and playing. And then he's lining up on Andre Rison most of the game, bump and run, and keeping Rison out of the end zone so far. But the game is not over, as we know.
Bobby Hebert 4 of 4 on this drive. Looking to make it 5 of 5, and it is incomplete. Intended for Bert Emanuel. Darrell Henley on the coverage for Los Angeles.
And then Darrell Henley, you know, with the problems he's had off the field that everybody knows about, how important has he been to this Ram defense? You know, Light is a very good man-to-man cover guy, but Darrell Henley is probably the purest man-to-man cover guy I've ever seen.
The Falcons have gone to the air on their last 9 plays from scrimmage. 2nd down and 10. Hebert is right. Lobs it over to Hayward. Remember the Rams with 5 sacks on the day. Hebert pressured this entire 4th quarter, but he was able to flick it over the defenders, and he found Craig Hayward.
Let's not lose sight of this game now, Kenny. Been a lot said for the Rams in their favor, a lot of, you know, hoopla, a lot of cheering, big plays, but bottom line is, you know, it's Rams 5, Falcons nothing. All they need is a big play to get ahead of the Rams and get in this football game.
4:25 to go. Hayward stopped after a short gain by Shane Conlon. What a game it has been. Shane Conlon set the tone early. Conlon a bit slow to get up. He was suffering the thigh bruise, which kept him out of the first Falcons-Rams game 3 weeks ago.
You get a guy like Hayward, you know, who they say is down to 265, you be the judge. But when he puts his head down, it's going to be hard to stop him. But Shane Conlon's the kind of guy, he doesn't look like a real strong, tough, physical linebacker, but it's all upper body, folks. And he's been sitting like that for quite a while. When I first came into the league, you know, he came in about 2 years later, walked on the field, and he had that same limp, and he hunched over like that, and he was always in a tired position. But when the ball snapped, Shane Conlon comes to play. Second leading tackler last year for the Rams. Really not expected to play as much today because of the 4 wide out situation. And with the injury to Pfeiffer, he's had to come in quite a bit.
First down from the 38. Hebert over the middle, and he finds Terrence Mathis, another Falcons first down.
Don't forget, Hebert is a technician, very smart guy. He can pick you apart, and he knows how to win. I want you to watch Conlon right here. He's looking for a window to throw it to, or throw it in. He wants Conlon to stay just enough forward and bite up on the crossing route so he can throw it right behind him. And there you can see Pfeiffer, he's the last man or the first man to get to the play, but it's all because they got Conlon to move out of the zone early. Kennedy there now, he's had to move onto the other side there and play tackle. With his weight, he's lost almost 80 pounds since May. Does he have the feet to play tackle? I was talking to Jeff Van Note about that earlier, and that's kind of a question mark.
He replaces Bob Whitfield, shaken up on the last play. Hebert takes it himself. Gains 7 yards. Out of bounds at the Rams 13. And there is Bob Whitfield. Whitfield and Kennedy, both #1 draft picks. Whitfield in 1992 and Kennedy in 1993. The only #1 draft picks remaining on the Falcons roster.
You talk about Whitfield. Here's a guy that had to come down and weight too. He came in earlier at camp at 340. He's down to about 302, 300. So he's lost some weight. But the real story is, do they have the confidence in Lincoln Kennedy and his feet on the other side as you look at Hebert's stats right there.
Hebert 6 of 7 on this drive. Hebert scrambling away from Stokes. It is incomplete off the hand of Ironhead Hayward.
And Kennedy did a nice job holding out Robert Young on the rush from the outside. You got a guy, so you want a wide frame like that at tackle because that makes that corner longer. And remember, Chris Dolman talked to us last night about a short corner and the speed around the outside. That's what you want. And see this guy here, 6'6", 350. And don't forget, he went up against Steve Entman, and he's coming out of the game. Steve Entman, and Whitfield is back. Went up against Steve Entman at University of Washington. Indianapolis is #1, so playing against good guys makes you good.
3rd down and 3. Touchdown Falcons. Hebert finds Sanders, and Atlanta leads 6-5.
Now, Kenny, this is the thing we talked about. You know, it's all gone in the Rams' favor so far. At 3 minutes in the 4th quarter, perhaps the bubble is about to burst. And even more ironic, look where they throw the football. They throw it right in the middle at Anthony Newman.
Ricky Sanders scores his first touchdown of the season, his first as a member of the Atlanta Falcons, and it could not have come at a more apropos time. So the Falcons lead by 1, 6-5, and they will go for 2. Hebert, the quarterback, from the 2-yard line.
The theory here is to spread them out and try to run the football. Let's see if they do it.
Hayward, the lone back. Hebert into the end zone, and they've got it. Terrence Mathis. And the Falcons lead 8-5. So the best the Rams can do with a field goal is tie the game.
Yeah, and once again, Kenny, that ball goes right in the middle of the field. The area that's been talked about, the trash talking. This man comes in, and he leads the Falcons down the field and scores.
Kenny Albert, Ron Pitts in Anaheim. Ricky Sanders scores his first touchdown as a member of the Atlanta Falcons. 13-yard pass from Bobby Hebert. Hebert 7 of 9 on the drive. And it is capped off by the touchdown pass. Hebert to Sanders, and then Hebert and Terrence Mathis on the 2-point conversion. The first successful 2-point conversion in Falcons history. This is Chris Bradley, the rookie out of Rutgers. The Rams will start from their own 32-yard line with 3 minutes, 4 seconds to go.
Here's a touchdown. This is Sanders right here. He's going to come in and get hit right there with the football. You're going to think at first it's the fault of these two guys, but I want you to watch right here, 24, Wyman Henderson. He's going to take a quick jab step up and not get depth. That little area, that little window is just enough time for Hebert to fit it in, and the safeties can't get there.
There is Jeff George, who suffered the concussion earlier. Ricky Sanders, 6 receptions on the day. Tommy Maddox and the Rams trailing 8-5. Maddox is complete. Johnny Bailey across the 45 to the 50. 20 yards on the play from Tommy Maddox to Johnny Bailey.
Now, this is nothing here but a good job of Johnny Bailey following his blocker. He's going to sneak up here in the middle if he doesn't see anything coming right away. It's a screen the whole way. We're going to slow it down right here and stop it. He reads the block, and just takes it up the middle. Good decision time that time.
And Maddox is complete once again. This time it is Flipper Anderson up at the 40. Rams with all 3 timeouts remaining.
And now, Kenny, we're set up for even a third quarterback controversy. Maddox, he's in now. So what's the difference between him and Miller? Who you start?
And Maddox is complete once again. It is Johnny Bailey. As the clock hits 2 minutes to go in this fourth quarter. Well, before Tommy Maddox worries about next week, he must worry about these next 2 minutes. Kenny Albert with Ron Pitts on Fox. The man of the hour, Bobby Hebert, who replaced the injured Jeff George. Hebert 7 of 9 on the Falcons scoring drive as they lead the Rams 8-5 with 2 minutes to go. That is the Rams backup Tommy Maddox in for the injured Chris Chandler. Jerome Bettis. Bettis to the 30. 9 yards on the carry by Jerome Bettis, who is well over the 100-yard mark now. 117 yards this afternoon.
Well, you're going to see an incredible block by Chuck Bellin. I mean, you would think because of the inside running success that the Rams would run the football inside. And I think that's what Atlanta thought. But right there, look at 71 Bellin. Look at the block he makes on Tuggle. And that enables Bettis to keep going and do what he does best, run people over. But you know what? Bellin stepped in and done a real fine job today. It started off a little shaky, had one call, but I can't even say it started off shaky because he comes right in at a new position with asthma and really makes some good blocks. And Tuggle has been the recipient of several good blocks today.
The Rams call timeout after the first down gained by Jerome Bettis. Rams ball on the Falcons 27 with 1 minute 51 seconds to go. Each team 2 timeouts remaining. Falcons lead by 3. Maddox from the shotgun. Maddox pass is complete. Flag on the play. The pass to Johnny Bailey.
Falcons signaling that that's in their favor.
And it is. Penalty called on the Rams.
Offensive pass interference, number 81, 10 yards, still first down.
Yeah, that's Todd Kinchin there. Now, that's a big penalty because they're sitting here in the red area with a first down with plenty of time on the clock, and now they're going to get pushed back. And Kenny, you talked about a field goal. Well, you know, every yard you lose right now is crucial in terms of field goal position. So that could be the kiss of death if it you know, works out like that.
Ball on the 37-yard line. 1 minute 45 seconds to play. First down and 20. Ball tapped by Maddox. The question now, did it draw the Falcons offside?
I think they're going to get Goes for moving there.
Before the ball was snapped, false start, number 79, 5 yards, still first down.
Yeah, kid, I know what you're talking about with the new rule this year, but Goes right there, look at him. He just jumps, tries to put that other hand down. That's not going to cut it. They got him. There's another penalty. All this is doing is getting them out of field goal range for Zendejas.
Maddox, and it is picked off. Kevin Ross. His second interception this season, 32nd of his career. Kevin Ross picks off Tommy Maddox with 1 minute 37 seconds to go. The Rams were deep in Falcon territory, and then 2 penalties pushed them back. And then Maddox intercepted by Ross.
The thing about this, the penalty puts them in a position where they got to go for it more than he wants to. Right there, Maddox holds the ball too long. He stares a hole in where he's going to throw it, and Ross comes up with the play. You know, an interesting thing about Kevin Ross is that in his first year in the league, his rookie year, Lips and Stallworth with Pittsburgh beat him for about 280 yards in total offense. And he said, you know something, that'll never, ever happen to me again. The next week he went out, had a bunch of tackles, and had 2 interceptions. So, you know, you'll always learn from those things, and it always comes back in your favor later on in big plays.
1:37 to go. Craig Hayward up the middle, and the Rams call timeout. The Rams now just one timeout remaining.
For the Rams, it'll be a 40-second timeout.
The Rams led 5-0 until Ricky Sanders caught a 13-yard touchdown pass from Bobby Hebert with 3:14 remaining. The 2-point conversion was successful, and the Falcons lead the Rams by the score of 8-5. We welcome those of you who have been watching the Philadelphia Eagles' 48 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. The winner of the Rams and the Falcons will move into a first-place tie in the NFC West with the 49ers. I'm Kenny Albert with Ron Pitts from Anaheim Stadium. 1 minute 33 seconds to go. Bobby Hebert in at quarterback for the Falcons, handing off to Craig Ironhead Hayward. And the Rams call their final timeout. Chris Chandler, the Rams starting quarterback, sprained his ankle in the first half, replaced by Tommy Maddox, who threw an interception just moments ago with the Rams inside Atlanta Falcons territory. The only touchdown of the game moments ago. 3:14 remaining in this fourth quarter. Bobby Hebert, 13 yards to Ricky Sanders in the end zone.
Sanders is going to catch the ball right across the middle. The problem is they don't get enough depth in the back end going toward the goal line. And they talk about the release of Jeff George, but how about the release of Bobby Hebert? And ironic, Kenny, that pass comes right in the middle, and all the trash has been talked. Here's another area. This is the 2-point conversion. Once again on the rollout, and they just lose them inside there, and another throw to the inside of the field. It'll be something if it works out that the Falcons beat the Rams because they threw and made 2 scores in the middle of the field.
And that is Kevin Ross, who picked off Tommy Maddox just moments ago with the Rams on the Falcons 42. Both starting quarterbacks injured. Chris Chandler and Jeff George on the Atlanta side suffered a concussion when hit helmet to helmet by the Rams' Fred Stokes. 3rd down and 4. Hebert hands off to Hayward. He has the first down. And the Falcons will effectively kill off the rest of the clock. No times out remaining for the Los Angeles Rams, who led 5-0 on a safety in the second quarter. Sean Gilbert sacked Jeff George in the end zone. A 28-yard field goal by Tony Zendejas in the third quarter. 5-0. So the Rams defense, which shut out Kansas City last week, had not allowed any points for almost 8 full quarters until the touchdown pass from Hebert to Ricky Sanders. There is June Jones, the Atlanta Falcons coach. Falcons looking to win back-to-back road games in consecutive weeks for the first time since 1986.
Yeah, and this is a baseball score, too. Like you said, we're at a baseball stadium, so why not have a baseball score, 8-5.
The Falcons with their 6th consecutive victory over an NFC West opponent as they defeat the Los Angeles Rams for the 2nd time in 4 weeks. Week number 2 at the Georgia Dome, 31-13 Falcons over the Rams. Here today An 8-5 victory as Bobby Hebert comes in, completes 7 of 9 passes on the scoring drive, including the only touchdown of the game. And there is Kevin Ross, who sealed the victory with his 2nd interception of the season. The Atlanta Falcons now 3-2. They will head home for a meeting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. Jeff George and the Falcons tied with the San Francisco 49ers for first place in the NFC West. In 2 weeks, it will be the Falcons and the 49ers down in Atlanta. Chris Chandler, Chris Miller, chatting it up with June Jones. Who will be the starting quarterback for the Rams next week in Green Bay? Will it be Chandler? Will it be Maddox? Will it be Miller?
Well, the question here, too, is, you got to keep your backup quarterback in the game, in practice, and you got to give him some reps. Like we talked to Tommy Maddox last week, he said, I don't have any reps this week with the starting offensive unit. And I thought to myself last night, what if something happens to Chandler? What if he has to come in and play? He said he felt he'd be rusty in certain areas, but he was just going to try to move the chains. He did move the chains, and things weren't that much better on the other side of the ball for Jeff George. Bettis, he did a good job of running when he had to run, but 117 yards. I mean, that's his kitty that he normally gets, but it was just a situation, I think, for the Rams where the momentum was in their favor throughout the game. The crowd got into it, Kenny, like you saw, but the bottom line is it was still only 5-0 till late here in the 4th quarter.
And there is Jerome Bettis, 117 yards on 29 carries, his 4th consecutive 100-yard game. But it all goes for naught as the Rams are defeated by the Atlanta Falcons here in Anaheim by the score of 8-5. The 2nd consecutive victory for the Atlanta Falcons. They defeated Washington last week. This is Kenny Albert for Ron Pitts saying so long from Anaheim, where the Falcons have defeated the Rams 8-5. We will now take you to the New Orleans Saints and New York Giants from the Superdome. Joe Buck and Tim Green standing by. The NFL is a presentation of Fox Sports.